This week's Parshat Vayera talks about the Akaidat Yitzchak. This is one of the most difficult things to understand in all the Torah. How could God ask Abraham to sacrifice his one and only beloved son Yitzchak that he waited 100 years to have? The commentators throughout the years have tried to give us different explanations, which all still leave us feeling uncomfortable and unsettled. It's very hard to understand why God would ask such a thing from Abraham as to sacrifice his own son. And I don't think we will ever know really why God asked this from Abraham, but there are many things, of course, that we can learn from the episode. And I'd like to share with you something that I noticed. In the beginning of the Parsha, it talks about God was going to destroy the towns of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he said, "Shall I conceal from Abraham what I do?" And the pasuk says, "Because Abraham will become a great nation, and all the nations of the world will be blessed in him. For I have known him, and he commands his sons and his household after him, that they should keep the way of the Lord and perform righteousness and justice, in order that the Lord bring upon Abraham that which he spoke concerning him." And then he goes on to tell Abraham, and Abraham tries to save them, asking if there are 50 righteous people, would you destroy them? And God says no. And then he has to keep going down. If there are 40 righteous, will you destroy? God says no. 30, no. 20, no. 10, which we are told Abraham's thought process was he hoped that Lot and his family, which are supposed to add up to 10 with married daughters and single daughters, if they were righteous, could they save the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah? But apparently we know they weren't enough, and the cities were destroyed. So the same thing, I think, holds true, because after Akeidah, when Abraham passed the test, and he didn't have to sacrifice Yitzchak, but God saw that he was prepared to do such. And after he passed the test, it says in the pasuk that and he said, "By myself I have sworn, says the Lord, that because you have done this thing, and you will not withhold your son, your only one, that I will surely bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens and as the sand that is in the seashore, and your descendants will inherit the cities of their enemies. And through your children shall be blessed all the nations of the world, because you hearkened to my voice." So there's this similarity of getting a blessing for the future in both episodes, and of this idea that I think holds true in the Akeidah, what God was saying with Sodom. Shall I conceal from Abraham what I do? Because just like what God was trying to teach Abraham with the city of Sodom and Gomorrah is, Abraham, you say you accept me, and how can I conceal from you, if you're going to accept me, what that fully means? Because what it fully means to accept God is that there will be judgment, and there will be destruction. And if Abraham doesn't understand and accept that, then he's not really accepting God. So this test is really not a test. It's full disclosure to Abraham. What God is saying is, if you want to accept me, this is part of it. Part of it is this judgment, and the cities will be destroyed if they are all evil, and it all the time affects your family, just like it affected Lot. Although Lot was able to flee from Sodom with his life, he still ended up being horribly affected by it. His wife, we know, turned into a pillar of salt. His married daughters were left behind, and the daughters that were still left alive ended up plying him with wine and conceiving children from him. So his life after the destruction suffered horribly and was very difficult. And if Abraham accepted that, which he did, that was step one, that there's going to be destruction of evil people and it will affect your family. And Abraham accepted that. But the next step after that for Abraham to understand is that your descendants, Abraham, will be forced to sacrifice. Even though Abraham didn't sacrifice his son Yitzchak because God saved Yitzchak at the last moment. That wasn't to always be the case. And Abraham had to understand and be willing to do this, because that is a reality. That is what is going to happen in the future. Our people were forced to sacrifice their children and themselves and their future because of their faith in God. And that is part and parcel of what was going to happen in the future. And if Abraham was to accept God and the covenant fully, it would have to be with full disclosure of knowing that this is what was going to happen in the future. And we were forced to sacrifice in so many times, so many lives, especially in the Holocaust. And we, just like Abraham, as a nation, have prevailed in our faith. We have passed this test. And after we pass this test, now we have gotten the land back of Israel, and we are to receive only blessing, having remained faithful to God through thick and thin. And we don't know why. We don't know why, just like we don't know why Abraham was asked to sacrifice Yitzchak. We don't know why we had to lose all the people in the Holocaust. But what we do know is we've remained faithful, and we've gotten back our country. And now we are in the phase where we have been proven faithful, and we can live in this country serving God in the way we know how, and hopefully only have good and blessing from now on. Shabbat Shalom to everybody.